Hello everyone. Homework 4 is a little bit tricky, so let me go over a little bit in detail. So first of all, what is an inverse function? We know, for instance, that sine of pi over 3 will be root 3 over 2. So the inverse function is the backwards relation. So inverse of root 3 over 2 is equal to pi over 3. So since sine of pi over 3 is root 3 over 2, that means that inverse sine of root 3 over 2 is pi over 3. So this is the inverse relation. But the inverse function is not defined everywhere. So the inverse function is only defined from negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. Because this is a piece of the sine function that is 1 to 1. So sine keeps going, but the portion that's 1 to 1 is the portion that's restricted here. So what I mean by that is sine of pi over 3 is this value, which is going to be root 3 over 2. So if you want the backwards relation, then you go root 3 over 2 to here, and it must be pi over 3. And we have to restrict to this interval because then there will be some ambiguities. For instance, why can't we just say that the inverse sine of root 3 over 2 is somewhere over here? Well, you can't because then it's not a function. So we want to make sure that the range of the inverse sine function is from negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. And for similar reasons, the range for cosine is going to be from 0 to pi, not negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. So let me summarize. So to summarize, the range of inverse sine, which sometimes is written as arc sine, is negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. And the range of inverse cosine, sometimes written as arc cosine, is from 0 to pi. So now let's try to answer this question. This is number 6 on homework 4. Using my numbers, I think your numbers might be different. So first we need to figure out if 13 pi over 21 is in the range of inverse sine. 13 pi over 21 is going to be bigger than pi over 2, which would be 10.5 over 21 pi. So this angle is 13 pi over 21. So if we want to ask for the value of sine inverse of this, well, it won't fall in the correct range. So it's not 13 pi over 21. What we need to do is find an angle that is the same value as sine of 13 pi over 21 that is in the range of sine. So how to do that is you use reference angles. So this angle is pi minus 13 pi over 21, which is 8 pi over 21. And then if we use the symmetry, well, sine is the vertical, which means it's positive in the first and second quadrant. And so if we have 8 pi over 21 here. Then that will end up being the same value. And so the answer to this question is 8 pi over 21.